The photo loads on my phone screen, and my world shatters into 1,000 jagged pieces. Tyler's arms are wrapped around her waist, his mouth pressed against hers in a way that makes my stomach twist violently. She's wearing the red dress I helped him pick out 3 weeks ago, the one he said was for his cousin's birthday party. My hands shake as I zoom in on the timestamp. Last night. While I was working a double shift at the diner, scraping together rent money for our apartment, he was at some rooftop bar in Manhattan, kissing a woman who looks like she stepped out of a magazine. The background shows city lights, expensive drinks, people who belong to a world I've only ever observed from the outside. I can see his hand tangled in her perfectly styled hair, the same way he used to touch me before everything became about bills and arguments and his endless complaints about my working-class life. My chest tightens until I can barely breathe. 3 years. 3 years of believing his promises, of defending him to my mother who said he was using me, of skipping meals so he could have the lifestyle he wanted. The caption under the photo reads, "Best night ever," with a dozen heart emojis. She tagged him. He didn't even have the decency to keep it private. My vision blurs with tears I refuse to let fall, but they come anyway, hot and angry against my cheeks. I'm sitting on the fire escape of our 5th floor walk-up in Hell's Kitchen, the same rusted metal bars where Tyler once told me he loved me, where he promised we'd build something real together. The October wind cuts through my waitress uniform, but I don't feel it. All I feel is the betrayal carving through my ribs like broken glass. If you're loving this story already, hit that like button and let me know you're here with me. Please let me also know where you are watching from in the comment section, because I need to know I'm not alone in this feeling. I don't remember opening the social media app. I don't remember typing the words, but suddenly, they're there, posted to my account for all 347 of my followers to see. My boyfriend cheated on me while I worked a double shift to pay our rent. Tyler Matthews, you're a coward and a liar. I gave you everything, and you gave me nothing but empty promises and debt. My finger hovers over the delete button. This isn't me. I don't air my pain online. I don't make scenes, but something raw and desperate inside me needs the world to know that I wasn't the problem, that I tried, that I mattered even if he made me feel invisible. I attach the screenshot of the photo, my hands still trembling with rage and heartbreak. The post goes live. Within seconds, reactions start flooding in. The responses come fast. My coworker Sarah comments with angry emojis. My cousin Jade writes, "I never liked him. You deserve better." Strangers I barely know offer sympathy, advice, threats against Tyler. But then I see it. A comment from an account I don't recognize. The profile picture shows only darkness, no face, just an expensive-looking watch catching light. The username reads Dante Moretti, and the comment makes my breath catch in my throat. Drop the address. I'll handle him. 4 simple words that carry weight I can't quite identify. I click on the profile. It's private. 0 posts visible. 43,000 followers. Something about it feels dangerous, like staring into deep water without knowing what swims beneath the surface. My rational mind says it's probably some internet troll, someone seeking attention or making empty threats. But something else, something primal, whispers that this person means exactly what they said. I should delete the comment. I should delete the entire post. Instead, I stare at those 4 words until they blur. I'll handle him. What does that even mean? My phone buzzes with more notifications, but I can't look away from that comment. The account has no information, no context, nothing to indicate who this Dante Moretti person might be. For a moment, I let myself imagine someone actually standing up for me. Someone powerful enough to make Tyler feel even a fraction of the pain he's caused. But that's fantasy. Real life doesn't work that way. Real life is working doubles while your boyfriend cheats. Real life is discovering betrayal through a stranger's Instagram story. Real life is sitting alone on a fire escape, wondering how you missed all the signs that must have been there all along. I type a response before I can stop myself. 134, West 47th Street, apartment 5C, but he's not worth your time. My thumb hovers over send. This is insane. I'm giving my address to a complete stranger on the internet because of some romantic notion that someone might actually care enough to defend me. But the anger burning in my chest needs an outlet, needs to believe that consequences exist for people like Tyler. I press send, the comment posts, nothing happens. Of course, nothing happens. I pull my cardigan tighter around my shoulders and stand up, my legs stiff from sitting in the cold. The city stretches out below me, millions of lights representing millions of lives, and I feel impossibly small and stupid and used. Inside the apartment, Tyler's cologne still lingers in the air, mixing with the smell of the Chinese takeout we shared 2 nights ago when he told me he loved me. I look around at our shared space with new eyes, the couch he picked out that I'm still paying off, the TV he insisted we needed even though we could barely afford groceries, the gaming system he bought himself for his birthday while I wore shoes with holes in the soles. How did I not see it? How did I convince myself that love meant sacrifice only from my side? I walk to our bedroom, my heart pounding with a toxic mixture of rage and grief. His clothes are scattered across the floor like always. I start grabbing them, shoving them into garbage bags with shaking hands. He doesn't get to come home to comfort. He doesn't get to explain or apologize or make promises he'll never keep. The apartment feels suffocating suddenly, like the walls are closing in with memories of every time I made myself smaller for him. I need air. I need space. I need to not be here when he eventually stumbles home with some excuse ready on his lying tongue. I grab my jacket and my phone and head for the door, not bothering to lock it behind me. Let him come home to his scattered belongings and know that I finally woke up. The hallway smells like Mrs. Chen's cooking from 5B, familiar and comforting in a way nothing else feels right now. I take the stairs because the elevator is broken again, my footsteps echoing in the concrete stairwell. Each floor down feels like shedding a layer of the person I was when I believed in us. The street is busy even at 10 p.m. Manhattan never sleeps, people rushing past with their own dramas and destinations. I start walking with no direction in mind, just moving to keep the thoughts from catching up. The diner where I work is 6 blocks away, and my feet carry me there automatically. The neon sign flickers, Joe's 24-hour diner, in pink and blue, tacky but home in ways my apartment never was. Inside, the familiar smell of coffee and bacon grease wraps around me. My manager, Joe, looks up from behind the counter, his weathered face creasing with concern when he sees my expression. "Emma, you're not scheduled tonight, sweetheart." His voice is gentle, the kind of gentle that makes tears threaten again. I slide into my usual booth in the corner, the vinyl cracked and patched with duct tape. "I just need to sit for a while," I manage to say, my voice cracking on the last word. Joe doesn't push. He brings me coffee without asking, the mug chipped but warm in my cold hands. The diner's quiet tonight, just a couple of regulars and a group of college students who look too young to be awake at this hour. I pull out my phone again, unable to stop myself from checking the post. It has 300 likes now. The comments keep coming, but that one comment from Dante Moretti sits there like a promise or a threat. I can't decide which. No follow-up, no elaboration, just those 4 words that somehow feel more real than anything Tyler ever said to me. I want to believe someone in this massive, indifferent city actually cares that I'm hurting. I want to believe consequences exist. My phone buzzes with a text from Tyler. "Where are you? Why is all my stuff in garbage bags?" No mention of the post, no acknowledgement of what he's done, just annoyance that I've inconvenienced him. The audacity makes me laugh, a bitter sound that draws glances from the college students. I don't respond. What is there to say? I type and delete a dozen messages, each one trying to capture the enormity of his betrayal and my pain, but words feel inadequate. Instead, I turn my phone face down on the table and stare out the window at the cars passing by. There, headlights streaking through the darkness like fallen stars. Somewhere in this city, Tyler is probably with her, the woman in the red dress, living his best life while I fall apart in a diner booth. The bell above the door chimes, and I don't look up. Customers come and go. Joe moves behind the counter with practiced efficiency. The coffee in my cup grows cold. Time passes in that strange way it does when you're hurting, where minutes feel like hours, but hours disappear into nothing. My phone stays silent. Tyler doesn't call. He never does when confronted with his own failures. He'll wait for me to come home, to forgive him like I always have, to make it easy for him. But something shifted tonight when I saw that photo. Something broke that can't be fixed with apologies or excuses. I'm done being the understanding girlfriend. I'm done making myself small so he can feel big. Emma. Joe's voice cuts through my thoughts. He's standing by the booth, his expression worried. There's someone here to see you. I look up, confused. What? Who? But Joe's already moving away, heading back to the kitchen with a strange urgency. My heart starts pounding for reasons I don't understand. I turn toward the door and freeze. A man stands in the entrance of the diner, and he doesn't belong here. Everything about him screams money and power and danger. He's tall, over 6 feet easily, with dark hair styled perfectly despite the late hour. His suit probably costs more than my entire year's rent, black and tailored to show off a build that suggests he's no stranger to violence. But it's his eyes that pin me in place. Dark, intense, focused entirely on me with an expression I can't read. He walks toward my booth with the confidence of someone who's never been told no, his expensive shoes silent on the diner's worn linoleum. The few customers in the place watch him with a mixture of curiosity and instinct-driven wariness. He radiates authority, the kind that makes people move out of his way without him asking. When he reaches my booth, he doesn't ask permission. He slides into the seat across from me, his presence overwhelming in the small space. Up close, I can see the sharp angles of his face, the slight shadow of stubble along his jaw, the way his eyes study me with an intensity that makes my breath catch. He's beautiful in a dangerous way, like a blade catching light. Emma Rodriguez? His voice is deep, controlled with an accent I can't quite place. Italian, maybe. Something European that makes every word sound deliberate. Who are you? I find my voice, though it comes out shakier than I'd like. My hands wrap tighter around my coffee mug, needing something to anchor me. He leans back against the booth, completely at ease despite looking entirely out of place in this rundown diner. Dante Moretti. He says it like I should know the name, like it carries weight beyond the internet comment. You posted an address. I told you I'd handle it. My brain struggles to process his words. This can't be real. People don't show up in person from random internet comments. This has to be some kind of joke or prank or fever dream brought on by emotional trauma. But he's sitting here, solid and real, waiting for my response with patience that feels predatory. Are you still with me? Drop an emoji in the comments if you're as shocked as Emma right now. I need to know you're feeling this. That was a joke, I managed to say, though even I don't believe it. I was angry. I didn't actually expect anyone to show up. Something flickers in his eyes, amusement maybe, or assessment. He pulls out his phone, expensive and sleek, and shows me the screen. It's my social media post, the one about Tyler, the screenshot of him kissing that woman. Dante has it pulled up like he's been studying it. This man, he says, his voice dropping lower, more dangerous, has been living off you for 3 years, working you to exhaustion while he spends your money on women who wouldn't give him the time of day if they knew he was a parasite. The accuracy of his words stuns me. How does he know any of this? I don't understand. Why do you care? The question comes out as barely a whisper. Dante sets his phone down on the table between us, his movements precise and controlled. I don't like men who hurt women who've done nothing but love them honestly. His eyes meet mine, and I see something burning there that makes my heart race for entirely different reasons than fear. You deserve better than empty promises and betrayal, so I'm here to make sure you get what you deserve. The words should sound crazy. They should terrify me, but instead they ignite something in my chest that feels like hope mixed with recklessness. What exactly does handle it mean, I ask, needing to understand what I've potentially set in motion by posting that address in a moment of hurt and rage. A slight smile curves his lips, but it doesn't reach his eyes. Those stay cold, calculating, the eyes of someone who's made harder decisions than I can imagine. It means your ex-boyfriend is going to learn that there are consequences for his actions. It means he's going to understand exactly what he lost when he chose to disrespect you. It means... He pauses, leaning forward slightly, his presence overwhelming despite the table between us. He's never going to forget the mistake he made tonight. The promise in his words sends a shiver down my spine that's part fear, part something I don't want to name. This is insane. I should tell him to leave. I should call the police. I should do anything other than sit here feeling a dark satisfaction at the thought of Tyler finally facing consequences. Why? I ask again, needing to understand. You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. People post about their problems online every day. Why did you choose to respond to mine? Dante is quiet for a moment, studying me with that intense gaze that makes me feel simultaneously exposed and seen. Because I saw someone brave enough to demand better publicly when most people suffer in silence. Because I recognized honest pain instead of attention-seeking drama. Because... He hesitates, something shifting in his expression. I know what it's like to be betrayed by someone you trusted with everything. The admission surprises me, a crack in his controlled exterior that makes him suddenly more human and somehow more dangerous. The diner feels too small suddenly, like we're in our own world separate from the college students and regulars, and Joe watching from behind the counter with worried eyes. I don't even know you, I say, but it sounds weak even to my own ears. You could be anyone, a serial killer, a psychopath, someone worse than Tyler. The words should make me scared. They should make me get up and run, but I don't move. Something about Dante Moretti roots me in place, makes me want to hear what comes next, despite every logical reason I should be terrified. He doesn't look offended by my accusations. If anything, he seems amused. I could be, he agrees easily, but I'm not. What I am is someone with the resources and inclination to make sure justice happens when the system fails. That sounds like vigilante talk, I point out, trying to inject some reason into this surreal conversation. Dante's smile widens slightly. Call it what you want, the result is the same. Men like Tyler Matthews get away with hurting good women because there are no real consequences. He'll apologize, make promises, maybe even cry. And women forgive because they've been taught that's what good women do. Then 6 months later, he's doing it again with someone else. The cycle continues. His words hit too close to home. How many times have I forgiven Tyler's smaller betrayals? How many red flags did I excuse because I wanted to believe in the good person I thought he could be? You're talking about teaching him a lesson, I say slowly. What kind of lesson exactly? Dante leans back again, his body language casual, but his eyes never leaving mine. The kind that makes sure he never forgets what happens when you disrespect someone who deserves your respect. The kind that makes him think twice before he uses another woman's kindness as his personal ATM. Nothing permanent, nothing that crosses lines that can't be uncrossed, but effective. The careful way he phrases it tells me he's done this before, that this isn't his first time intervening in someone's messy personal drama. The thought should disturb me more than it does. And what do you get out of this? I ask, because nobody does something like this without a reason. What's in it for you? The satisfaction of balance restored, he says simply. I have resources. I have power. If I don't use them to correct injustices when I see them, what's the point of having them? It's a non-answer that somehow feels like the truth. We sit in silence for a moment. The sounds of the diner filtering back in, the clink of dishes, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of traffic outside. My coffee has gone completely cold. My phone sits silent on the table. Tyler still hasn't called to actually address what he's done. I should say no, I finally whisper. I should tell you to leave and forget this ever happened. I should handle this myself like a rational adult. You should, Dante agrees, but he doesn't move. But you're not going to, because you're tired of handling things yourself. You're tired of being the only one who tries, who sacrifices, who bears the weight of someone else's failures. You're tired of men like Tyler Matthews walking away unscathed while you pick up the pieces of your shattered trust. Every word lands like he's reading directly from my soul. Tears prick at my eyes again, but I blink them back, refusing to fall apart in front of this dangerous stranger who somehow sees me more clearly than anyone has in years. What happens after? I ask, my voice barely audible. After you handle it, what happens to me? Whatever you want, Dante says, his tone softening slightly. You go back to your life. You move forward. You find someone who deserves the loyalty you gave so freely to someone who didn't earn it. You forget tonight ever happened. But even as he says it, we both know that's not true. There's no forgetting this, no erasing the moment a stranger walked into a diner and offered to dispense justice on my behalf. And if I say yes, I continue, needing to understand all the implications. If I let you do this, does that make me a bad person? Does that make me just as wrong as he is? The question has been burning in the back of my mind since I posted that address, since I felt that dark satisfaction at the thought of Tyler suffering consequences. Dante's expression grows serious, thoughtful. You're not hiring a hitman, Emma. You're not asking me to hurt him beyond repair. You're simply allowing natural consequences to find someone who's avoided them for too long. He made choices. Those choices have repercussions. That's not wrong. That's balance. The way he frames it makes it sound almost reasonable, almost justified. But I know better. I know this crosses lines that polite society pretends don't exist. I don't want him seriously hurt, I say firmly, needing that boundary clear. I don't want permanent damage. I just want him to understand that what he did matters, that I matter, that actions have consequences. Understood, Dante says simply. He stands up from the booth, smoothing his already perfect suit. Up on his feet, he's even more imposing, his presence commanding the entire space. I'll handle this tonight. You should go somewhere safe. Stay with a friend. Don't go back to that apartment until tomorrow afternoon at the earliest. The practicality of his instructions grounds me slightly. This is really happening. I'm really agreeing to let this stranger exact some kind of revenge on my behalf. How do I reach you? I ask, suddenly panicked at the thought of not knowing how this ends. How do I know what happens? Dante pulls a card from his jacket pocket and places it on the table. Heavy cardstock, expensive, with just a phone number printed in simple black font. No name, no title, nothing identifying. Call this number tomorrow if you need anything. Otherwise, trust that it's handled. He starts to walk away, then pauses, looking back at me with an expression I can't quite read. You deserve better than what he gave you, Emma. Don't forget that when you're tempted to forgive men who don't deserve forgiveness. Then he's gone, walking out of the diner with the same commanding presence he entered with. The bell chimes, the door closes, and I'm left sitting in the booth, staring at the business card, wondering what I've just set in motion. Joe appears at the table almost immediately. Emma, who was that? His voice carries concern and something else. Worry, maybe. Fear. I don't know. I answer honestly, picking up the card with shaking fingers. Someone who thinks he can fix my problems. Joe sits down across from me, his fatherly instincts clearly on high alert. Men like that, they don't fix problems, sweetheart. They create different ones. His words echo my own thoughts, but it's too late now. I gave Dante my address. I gave him permission, even if it was implicit. Whatever happens next is partially on me. I know, I whisper, sliding the card into my pocket. But maybe different problems are better than the same ones I've been living with for 3 years. I spend the night at Sarah's apartment in Brooklyn, lying on her couch while she sleeps in the bedroom, staring at the ceiling and wondering what Dante Moretti is doing to Tyler. My imagination conjures scenarios ranging from a stern talking to all the way to violence that makes my stomach churn. But somewhere in the middle, I hope for something that makes Tyler understand the weight of his choices without destroying him completely. Sarah doesn't ask questions when I showed up at midnight with red eyes and a duffel bag of hastily packed clothes. She just pulled me inside, made tea, and let me cry on her shoulder until the tears dried up. Now, in the quiet darkness, I check my phone every few minutes, waiting for angry texts from Tyler or calls from the police or something to indicate what's happening. Nothing comes. The silence feels more ominous than any message could be. At 3 a.m, I finally drift into uneasy sleep, my dreams filled with dark eyes and expensive suits and promises of justice. I wake up to Sarah shaking my shoulder gently. "Emma, your phone's been buzzing nonstop." My heart jumps into my throat as I grab my phone. 15 missed calls from Tyler, 23 text messages, but when I open them, they're not what I expected. They're not angry or defensive or full of the excuses I anticipated. They're scared, frantic. "Emma, please call me back. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything to make this right. Please just talk to me. I'm begging you." The desperation in his messages is palpable, even through text. What did Dante do? I scroll through the messages, my hands shaking. There's no mention of what happened, no description of how Dante delivered his lesson. Just raw fear bleeding through Tyler's words in a way I've never seen before. Sarah reads over my shoulder. "Who's Dante?" she asks, picking up on the name Tyler mentions repeatedly. "Please tell me this isn't about that Mafia boss comment from last night." I'd forgotten I'd told her about the post before passing out on her couch. Now, looking at Tyler's messages, the reality of what I've done settles over me like ice water. "He showed up at the diner," I admit quietly. "We talked. He said he'd handle it. I thought he was exaggerating or just trying to scare Tyler or something. I didn't think..." "You didn't think a stranger offering to handle your cheating boyfriend on the internet was serious?" Sarah's voice rises with incredulity and fear. "Emma, what did you do?" I don't have an answer. I call Tyler, my fingers numb as I dial his number. He answers on the first ring. "Emma, thank God. Where are you? Are you safe?" His voice is hoarse, shaking. Nothing like the confident man who thought he could juggle multiple women without consequences. "What happened, Tyler?" I ask, my voice carefully neutral, despite the chaos in my chest. "Did someone come to the apartment last night?" The silence on the other end stretches too long. When he finally speaks, his words come out in a rush, tripping over each other. "I'm getting emotional over here, and I know you are too. Drop a comment and let me know if you think Emma did the right thing. This is getting intense." 3 men showed up around midnight. They were in suits, Emma, expensive ones. They didn't break in or anything violent. They just knocked. When I opened the door, they pushed inside like they owned the place. The guy in front, he knew everything. He knew about the cheating, about me using your money, about every lie I've ever told you. He had photos, receipts, bank statements. I don't know how he got that information, but he had everything. Tyler's voice cracks, and I hear him take a shaky breath before continuing. "He told me exactly how much money I owed you. Not approximately, the exact amount down to the cent. 3 years of rent I promised to split, but never paid. Dinners I said I'd cover, but charged to your card. The car repairs I swore I'd handle. Everything, Emma, everything. My brain struggles to process this. I never calculated the total. I never wanted to acknowledge how much Tyler had taken from me financially, because it would make the emotional betrayal even worse. What did they want? I ask, even though part of me already knows. Tyler's voice drops to almost a whisper. They gave me 48 hours to pay you back. All of it, with interest. If I don't, they said they'd make sure every person in my professional and personal life knows exactly what kind of man I am. My boss, my family, my friends, everyone. They showed me a video they'd made, Emma. It was me talking about how I used you. I don't remember recording it, but there I was, admitting everything. They said they'd send it to everyone I know if I don't pay you back in full. The implications make my head spin. Dante didn't hurt Tyler physically. He did something far more effective. He hit him where it actually mattered, in his wallet and his reputation. How are you supposed to pay that kind of money in 48 hours? I hear myself ask, still trying to wrap my mind around the fact that this actually happened. Tyler laughs, a bitter, broken sound. That's the thing. They provided solutions, a payment plan to you with legally binding contracts. Or I can liquidate everything I own, sell my car, my gaming system, all the expensive shit I bought with your money. They even had a lawyer there with papers already drawn up. It was all planned, Emma, down to the last detail. I sink onto Sarah's couch, my legs unable to hold me up anymore. This is beyond what I imagine. This isn't just teaching Tyler a lesson. This is systematic, calculated justice, delivered with the precision of someone who's done this before. They didn't hurt you? I need to confirm. Need to know I didn't set something in motion that caused real physical harm. No, Tyler admits. They didn't touch me. They didn't have to. The guy in charge, Dante, I think one of them called him, he was terrifying without being violent. He spoke quietly, calmly, but every word felt like a threat. He told me that men who disrespect women who love them don't deserve comfort or mercy. He said you posted about what I did because you needed to be heard, and I was going to make sure you were heard in the only language I understand, money. I'm sorry, Tyler says suddenly, his voice breaking again. I'm so sorry, Emma. I took advantage of your kindness. I used you. I betrayed you. And I thought I could get away with it because you always forgave me before. But you were right to post about it. You were right to be angry. I don't deserve you. I never did. The apology sounds genuine in a way Tyler's apologies never have before. But I can't tell if it's real remorse or fear talking. I don't want you back, I say clearly, needing him to understand this. Whatever happens with the money, whatever you decide to do, we're done. We've been done for a long time. I was just too stupid or too hopeful to see it. I know, Tyler whispers. I know. And I'm sorry for that, too. I'll pay you back, Emma, I promise. I'll start today. I don't know how yet, but I will. We hang up, and I stare at my phone, my emotions a tangled mess of vindication, guilt, shock, and something else I can't name. Sarah is watching me with wide eyes. So let me get this straight, she says slowly. Internet Mafia boss actually showed up, tracked down your ass? Cheating ex didn't hurt him physically, but is forcing him to pay back every penny he owes you with interest and threatening to destroy his reputation if he doesn't comply. When she puts it like that, it sounds like something out of a movie. Yeah, I breathe. Apparently. That's either the most romantic or most terrifying thing I've ever heard, Sarah says, sitting down beside me. Maybe both. She's not wrong. I pull out the business card Dante gave me, the simple black number, stark against the white cardstock. My thumb hovers over my phone's keypad. Should I call him? Thank him? Demand to know how he orchestrated something so elaborate in less than 12 hours? Tell him he went too far? Not far enough? I dial before I can overthink it. The phone rings twice before his voice answers, smooth and controlled, like he's been expecting my call. Emma. Just my name, but the way he says it makes something flutter in my chest. You answered, I say stupidly. I said to call if you needed anything. Do you need something? I need to understand what happened last night, I managed to say, trying to sound more composed than I feel. Tyler called. He told me about the men who showed up. The money, the threats. That was you? There's a pause, and I can almost see him in my mind, sitting in some expensive office, completely unfazed by what he's done. I told you I'd handle it. I handled it. Your ex-boyfriend will pay back every dollar he owes you. He'll understand the weight of his choices, and he'll never forget what happens when he disrespects someone who deserved his respect. Those were your terms. Were they? I try to remember exactly what I said in the diner, but it's all a blur of emotions and shock. How did you get all that information? I ask. The bank statements, the receipts, everything. That was invasive. That was illegal. Dante's voice carries a hint of amusement. I have resources. I use them. And technically, the information was already accessible through public records and financial institutions if you know where to look. I just compiled it efficiently. The casual way he dismisses major privacy violations should bother me more than it does. You could have just scared him, I point out. You didn't need to go to such elaborate lengths. The payment plan, the lawyer, the video. That's beyond a lesson. That's orchestrated revenge. Is it? Dante challenges. Or is it simply making sure a man who's been avoiding consequences for years finally faces them in a way he can't ignore or excuse? I don't have a good answer to that. Part of me is grateful. Part of me is terrified of what Dante Moretti is capable of if he can orchestrate something this complex overnight. Part of me wants to know more about this man who stepped into my life like a dark guardian angel. I didn't ask for this, I say quietly. I posted in anger. I didn't actually think anyone would do anything. But you hoped someone would, Dante counters gently. You hoped the universe would provide justice since you couldn't demand it yourself. I simply made myself available to be the instrument of that justice. You can accept it or reject it, but either way, it's done. He's right. I did hope. I hoped Tyler would face consequences. I hoped someone would see my pain and validate it. I hoped I mattered enough for someone to care. Thank you, I whisper, the words feeling inadequate, but necessary. I don't understand why you did this for a stranger, but thank you. Dante is quiet for a moment. When he speaks again, his voice carries something I haven't heard before. Vulnerability, maybe. We're not strangers anymore, Emma. The moment you posted that address, the moment you let me into your pain, we became connected, and I protect what's connected to me. The words send a shiver down my spine that has nothing to do with fear. I don't need protection, I say, trying to inject some strength into my voice. I can take care of myself. I know you can, Dante agrees easily. But that doesn't mean you should have to do it alone all the time. We talk for another few minutes, Dante assuring me that Tyler will follow through on the payment plan, that legal contracts are already in motion, that I don't need to worry about any blowback from this. When we hang up, I feel simultaneously relieved and more confused than ever. Sarah is watching me with an expression that's part concern, part fascination. Emma, I love you, but you realize this is insane, right? You just let a complete stranger orchestrate revenge on your ex-boyfriend, and now you're having feelings for said stranger? I'm not having feelings, I protest, but it sounds weak even to my own ears. Sarah just raises an eyebrow. Girl, I heard your voice when you were talking to him. That wasn't just gratitude, that was attraction. I can't deny it. Something about Dante Moretti draws me in despite every logical reason I should be running in the opposite direction. Maybe it's the way he saw my pain and decided to do something about it. Maybe it's the controlled power he radiates. Maybe it's just that after years of Tyler's weakness disguised as love, Dante's strength feels like oxygen after drowning. It doesn't matter, I say firmly. He did me a favor. That's all this is. I'll probably never hear from him again. But even as I say it, I know it's not true. Men like Dante Moretti don't just walk into your life and walk out without leaving permanent marks. The question is whether those marks will be scars or something else entirely. The next few days pass in a surreal haze. Tyler starts making payments into my bank account exactly as Dante promised. The amounts are substantial, clearly from Tyler liquidating his possessions like he said he would. Each deposit comes with a brief, apologetic text that I don't respond to. I move my belongings out of our apartment with Sarah's help, finding a small studio in Brooklyn that's all mine. No shared rent, no boyfriend's name on the lease. Just me and my fresh start. Joe gives me more hours at the diner, and for the first time in 3 years, the money I earn stays mine. I should feel free. I should feel victorious. Instead, I feel unmoored. Like cutting Tyler out of my life left a void I don't know how to fill. I don't call Dante again, even though I think about it constantly. The business card stays in my wallet, a tangible reminder that somewhere in this massive city, there's a man who saw me at my lowest and chose to lift me up in the most unconventional way possible. I tell myself it was a one-time thing, a strange cosmic intervention that's now complete. But then, 2 weeks after that night in the diner, he shows up again. I'm closing the diner, wiping down tables in the empty restaurant while Joe counts the register in the back. The bell chimes, and I look up, ready to tell whoever it is that we're closed. But the words die in my throat when I see Dante standing in the doorway, looking just as imposing and out of place as he did the first time. "We're closed," I manage to say, my heart racing. Dante's lips curve into a slight smile. "I'm not here for food." He walks toward me with that same predatory grace, and I find myself frozen in place, dish rag still in my hand. "How did you know I'd be here?" I ask, even though I suspect he's had people watching me, keeping track. The thought should disturb me. Instead, it makes me feel seen. "I know a lot of things," Dante says, stopping a few feet away. "I know you moved out of your apartment. I know Tyler's been making his payments on time. I know you picked up extra shifts to build savings. I know you're trying to convince yourself you're fine when you're actually still processing everything that happened." The accuracy of his observations makes my breath catch. "Are you stalking me?" I ask, trying to sound offended, but mostly feeling something else. Something warm and dangerous. Dante tilts his head slightly, considering the question. "I prefer ensuring your well-being." Tyler's complying, but men like him sometimes get desperate when they're backed into corners. "I wanted to make sure he wasn't trying to contact you or cause problems. It's a reasonable explanation, but we both know there's more to it." "And?" I challenge. "Has he been causing problems?" "No," Dante admits. "He's been remarkably compliant, which means I didn't actually need to check on you for safety reasons." "Then why are you here?" The question hangs in the air between us, loaded with implications neither of us wants to voice. Dante steps closer, and I can smell his cologne, expensive and subtle. "Because I wanted to see you. Because I've been thinking about you since that night in the diner. Because I told myself I did my part and could walk away, but apparently I can't." His honesty stuns me. Men like Tyler never admitted to needing anything, especially not needing me. "I don't understand you," I whisper. "I don't understand why you care. I'm nobody. I'm a waitress from Hell's Kitchen who got her heart broken by a loser. That's not the kind of person men like you notice." Wait until you see what happens next. Comment if you think Dante's catching feelings, because this is about to get deeper. Dante's expression softens in a way I haven't seen before. "You're not nobody, Emma. You're someone who loved honestly, despite knowing it made you vulnerable. You're someone who worked herself to exhaustion for someone who didn't appreciate it. You're someone who demanded justice publicly when most people suffer in silence. You're someone who said yes when a stranger offered to help because you were brave enough to accept that you deserve better. That's not nobody. That's extraordinary. His words land on wounds I didn't know needed healing. Tears blur my vision, and I blink them back angrily. I'm not extraordinary. I'm just tired of being hurt. Those things aren't mutually exclusive, Dante says gently. He reaches out slowly, giving me time to pull away, and wipes a tear from my cheek with his thumb. The touch is electric, sending shivers through my entire body. You've been hurt. You have every right to be tired, but that doesn't diminish your worth. I should step back. I should maintain distance. Instead, I find myself leaning into his touch, desperate for the comfort he's offering. What do you want from me? I ask, needing to understand his endgame. Are you here because you feel responsible for me now? Because you think I need saving? Because this is some kind of charity project? Dante's hand drops from my face, but he doesn't step away. I'm here because when I saw your post, I saw someone who reminded me of my mother. She loved my father honestly, completely, despite his flaws. He was a difficult man, involved in difficult business. He wasn't always kind. But she never stopped fighting for him, for us, for the family we were supposed to be. And when he died, I realized she'd spent her entire life loving someone who took more than he gave. I swore I'd never let that happen to someone else if I had the power to stop it. The admission is raw, more vulnerable than anything Tyler ever shared with me. I'm sorry, I whisper, understanding now where his motivation comes from. Don't be, Dante says firmly. She made her choices. She loved who she loved. I just learned from watching her that good women shouldn't have to beg for the bare minimum from men who should worship the ground they walk on. So when I saw your post, when I saw you demanding better, I wanted to make sure you got it. His words paint a picture of a man driven by old wounds to prevent new ones. It's beautiful and sad and makes me want to know everything about him. Your father, I venture carefully. What kind of business was he in? Dante's expression goes carefully neutral, the walls coming back up. The kind that taught me how to find information, how to motivate people, how to make problems disappear when necessary. The implication is clear. Mafia, or something close to it, the kind of business that operates in shadows and makes people nervous. I should be terrified. Instead, I'm fascinated. And you? I ask. What business are you in now? Dante's slight smile returns. Legitimate business, mostly. Real estate development, investments, some consulting work. But I still have connections from my father's world. Resources I can utilize when situations call for them. Like when I need to teach a lesson to a man who thinks he's above consequences. His honesty is refreshing even when discussing things that should probably remain unspoken. You're telling me you're basically a reformed criminal helping people through questionable methods? Reformed is generous, Dante says with actual amusement. I'd say evolved. I learned from my father's mistakes. I operate within legal boundaries when possible, but I'm not opposed to pushing those boundaries when justice requires it. It's the most transparent anyone's been with me in years. Tyler lied about everything from his feelings to his finances. Dante admits to potentially criminal connections without hesitation. The contrast is stark. I should be scared of you, I point out. Everything about this situation should terrify me, but it doesn't. Why doesn't it? Dante studies my face with that intense gaze. Because you recognize honesty when you see it. Because I've never lied to you about who I am or what I'm capable of. Because your instincts are telling you that I'm dangerous to people who hurt you, not dangerous to you. He's right, and that should concern me more than it does. What happens now? I ask, echoing the question I asked him in the diner 2 weeks ago. What do you want from this? Dante is quiet for a moment, like he's weighing his words carefully. I want to take you to dinner, somewhere nice, somewhere that reminds you that you deserve to be treated well. No obligations, no expectations, just dinner with someone who thinks you're worth the effort, The invitation surprises me. This isn't what I expected. Why? I find myself asking again, needing to understand his motivations. Because revenge was delivered. Tyler's paying his debts. Your job is done. Why are you still here? Because maybe my job wasn't just about Tyler, Dante admits. Maybe it was also about showing you what it looks like when someone actually values you the way you deserve to be valued. Maybe I want to be the person who treats you right after years of you accepting treatment that was anything but. His words make my chest tight with emotions I'm not ready to name. I don't know if I'm ready for this, I confess. I just got out of a 3-year relationship. My heart is still healing. I don't know if I can trust my judgment about men right now. Dante nods like he expected this answer. I'm not asking you to trust your judgment about men. I'm asking you to trust your judgment about me specifically. One dinner. If you're uncomfortable, at any point I'll take you home. No pressure, no games, just honesty. The offer is tempting in ways I don't want to examine too closely. One dinner, I hear myself agree. But somewhere normal. I'm not ready for 5-star restaurants and champagne. I need normal. Dante's smile is genuine this time, reaching his eyes. Normal I can do. There's a small Italian place in the West Village. Family-owned, best pasta in the city, no photographers or people trying to impress anyone. Would that work? The fact that he's willing to adjust to my comfort level means more than expensive gestures ever could. That works, I agree, my heart pounding. When? Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. I'll pick you up. He pulls out his phone. What's your new address? I hesitate only briefly before giving him my address in Brooklyn. He types it into his phone with a small smile. See? Already trusting your judgment about me. The observation makes me smile despite myself. Don't make me regret it. I won't, Dante promises, his tone serious despite the lighter moment. I'm many things, Emma, but I'm not Tyler. I don't make promises I can't keep. He reaches out and takes my hand, bringing it to his lips in a gesture so old-fashioned and unexpected that it makes my breath catch. The kiss is brief, gentlemanly, but the warmth lingers long after he releases my hand. Until tomorrow, he says, then turns and walks out of the diner, leaving me standing there with my heart racing and my mind spinning. Joe emerges from the back office just as the door closes behind Dante. That him? He asks, his tone careful. The internet Mafia boss? I nod, still staring at the door. He asked me to dinner. Joe is quiet for a moment. And you said yes. I said yes, I confirm, turning to look at my manager and friend. I know it's crazy. I know I just got out of a relationship. I know he's dangerous and mysterious, and I should probably run the opposite direction. But Joe, when he looks at me, I feel seen in a way I never did with Tyler. Like I actually matter. Joe's weathered face creases with concern and something else. Understanding, maybe. Just be careful, sweetheart. Men who can make problems disappear that efficiently can also become problems themselves if things go wrong. His warning echoes my own concerns, but I push them aside. I'll be careful, I promise. It's just dinner. But we both know it's more than that. It's the beginning of something that could either heal me or break me in entirely new ways. I finish closing the diner, my mind already racing ahead to tomorrow night. What do you wear to dinner with a man who orchestrated revenge on your ex-boyfriend? What do you talk about with someone who operates in shadows and speaks in carefully chosen words? How do you protect your already battered heart from someone who's proven he can see straight through your defenses? That night, alone in my new studio apartment, I stare at my sparse wardrobe, trying to find something appropriate. Everything feels wrong, too casual, too desperate, too much like I'm trying too hard or not hard enough. I finally settle on a simple black dress that Sarah helped me pick out years ago for a job interview I never ended up going to. It's elegant without being flashy, professional without being cold. I hang it on the back of my door and try not to overthink what tomorrow night might bring. Sleep doesn't come easily. I lie awake wondering what I'm getting myself into, whether this is healing or just trading one complicated situation for another. But underneath the worry, there's excitement, genuine butterflies and stomach excitement that I haven't felt in years. Morning comes too slowly and too quickly at the same time. I work a breakfast shift at the diner, my mind only half on my tables. Sarah shows up around noon, sliding into a booth with a knowing smile. "So, I heard from Joe that your mysterious benefactor showed up last night and asked you to dinner." News travels fast in our small circle. "He did," I confirm, pouring her coffee without being asked. And I said yes before my brain could catch up with my mouth. Sarah studies me with the kind of scrutiny only best friends can get away with. "How do you feel about it? Honestly?" I sit down across from her during my break, wrapping my hands around my own coffee mug. Terrified, I admit. Excited. Confused. Like I'm standing at the edge of something that could either be amazing or catastrophic, and I have no idea which. Sarah nods slowly. "That's how all the good things start, with equal parts terror and excitement. The question is whether you trust him." "I barely know him," I point out. "How can I trust someone I barely know?" "You knew Tyler for 3 years and couldn't trust him," Sarah counters. "Time doesn't guarantee trust. Sometimes you just feel it. So do you feel it with Dante?" I think about his honesty in the diner, his willingness to be vulnerable about his mother, his careful respect for my boundaries, the way he looked at me like I mattered. "Yeah," I whisper. "I feel it," which probably makes me an idiot. Or brave, Sarah suggests. Maybe both. But Emma, you deserve something good after everything with Tyler. If this Dante guy can be that something good, I'm all for it. Just promise me you'll be smart about it. Don't lose yourself in someone else again. Her words hit home. That's exactly what I did with Tyler. I made myself smaller, quieter, more accommodating until I barely recognized the woman in the mirror. "I promise," I say firmly. "This time I'm keeping myself intact. If Dante wants me, he gets the real me, not some version I think he wants." Sarah grins. "That's my girl. Now let's talk about what you're wearing, because I know you're overthinking that too." The rest of the day passes in a blur of work and nervous anticipation. By the time 7 o'clock approaches, I've changed outfits 3 times, redone my makeup twice, and given myself approximately 47 pep talks in the mirror. The black dress won in the end, paired with simple jewelry and the nicest shoes I own. I'm not trying to be something I'm not. I'm just trying to be the best version of myself. When the knock comes at my door at exactly 7 p.m., my heart jumps into my throat. I take a deep breath, check myself one more time in the mirror, and open the door. Dante stands in the hallway, and he takes my breath away. He's wearing dark jeans and a fitted black shirt, somehow managing to look both casual and elegant. His eyes travel over me with an appreciation that makes my skin warm. "You look beautiful," he says simply. No flowery language or excessive compliments, just honest observation. "Thank you," I manage, grabbing my jacket and purse. "You clean up nice yourself." His slight smile suggests he knows he looks more than nice, but he doesn't push it. "Ready?" he asks, offering his arm. I hesitate only a moment before taking it, and we head down the stairs together. Outside, a car waits at the curb. Not a flashy sports car or an obvious display of wealth, just a nice sedan with a driver who nods professionally as Dante opens the door for me. The drive to the West Village is quiet, comfortable. Dante doesn't feel the need to fill every silence with meaningless chatter. Instead, we watch the city pass by through the windows, the Friday night energy of New York, palpable even from inside the car. "Nervous?" he asks after a while, his voice gentle. "Terrified," I admit honestly, but in a good way, I think. Dante's hand finds mine, his fingers threading through mine with surprising gentleness for someone so obviously capable of violence. "Me too," he confesses, and the admission makes him more human, I don't do this often. Get nervous, I mean. But something about you makes me want to get it right. The restaurant is exactly as Dante described. Small, intimate, with checked tablecloths and the smell of garlic and tomatoes in the air. The owner, an elderly Italian woman, greets Dante like family, kissing both his cheeks and chattering in rapid Italian before turning to me with a warm smile. Bella, she says, taking my hands. Any friend of Dante's is family here. Come, come, I have the best table for you. She leads us to a corner booth that's private without being isolated, still part of the restaurant's warm atmosphere, but separate enough for conversation. Dante orders wine in Italian, and the woman, who I learn is called Nonna Rosa, beams at him before disappearing to the kitchen. You come here often? I ask, settling into the booth. Dante nods. My mother used to bring me here when I was young. After she passed, Nonna Rosa kind of adopted me. She feeds me, scolds me when I work too much, asks when I'm getting married. His smile is fond, genuine. It's the only place where I'm just Dante, not anyone's son or anyone's boss or anyone's threat, just me. The vulnerability in that statement makes my heart squeeze. Thank you for bringing me here, I say quietly, for sharing this place with me. I wanted you to see me somewhere. I'm just me, Dante explains. Not the man who orchestrated revenge or the one with dangerous connections. Just Dante who likes good pasta and old Italian women who think he needs more meat on his bones. Did this story touch your heart? Drop a like if you're feeling everything Emma's feeling right now, because we're almost at the end. The food arrives in waves, homemade bread with olive oil, pasta so fresh it must have been made hours ago, wine that tastes like velvet. We eat and talk, the conversation flowing easier than I expected. Dante asks about my dreams, what I wanted to be, before life got complicated. I tell him about wanting to open my own bakery someday, how I used to bake with my grandmother before she died. He listens like my words matter, like my small dreams are as important as any empire. What about you? I ask, wiping sauce from my plate with bread. What do you want beyond your business empire and your connections? Dante is quiet for a moment, considering. Peace, he finally says. I want to build something that doesn't require violence or intimidation. I want to make my mother proud of the man I became despite the world I grew up in. The honesty between us feels fragile and precious. This isn't Tyler's surface-level conversations about sports and video games. This is real, raw, the kind of connection I've been craving without knowing I needed it. Can I ask about your father? I venture carefully. About what he did? Dante's expression shifts, but he doesn't shut down. He ran an organization that controlled territory in Manhattan. Legitimate businesses on the surface, but underneath. Loans, protection, favors. The kind of power that came with violence when necessary. I grew up watching him command respect through fear. It worked. He built an empire. But it also destroyed our family. My mother lived in constant fear. I learned to fight before I learned to read. I'm sorry, I say, meaning it. That sounds like a hard childhood. It taught me lessons Tyler never learned, Dante says, his dark eyes meeting mine. It taught me that power without integrity is empty. That money means nothing if you acquire it by hurting people who don't deserve it. That real strength is protecting people weaker than you, not exploiting them. My father forgot those things. I won't. His words paint a picture of a man actively choosing to be better than the example he was given. You're nothing like Tyler, I observe. You're nothing like anyone I've ever known. Good, Dante says simply. I don't want to be like anyone else in your life. I want to be something new, something better. The weight of his words settles over me like a promise. We finish dinner, and Nonna Rosa brings us dessert she insists we try. Tiramisu that melts on the tongue. We share it, trading bites and stories, the intimacy of the moment almost overwhelming. When it's time to leave, Dante pays despite my protests, and Nonna Rosa hugs us both, whispering something in Dante's ear that makes him smile. In the car, heading back to Brooklyn, I feel lighter than I have in months. Thank you for tonight, I say as we pull up to my building. For the restaurant, the conversation, for making me remember what it feels like to be treated like I matter. Dante turns to face me, his expression serious. You do matter, Emma. Never let anyone make you forget that again. He walks me to my door, the gentleman act never slipping. At my threshold, he pauses. Can I see you again? He asks, like the answer isn't obvious. Yep, I breathe. Yes, I want that. Dante smiles, genuine and warm, and leans in slowly. The kiss is gentle, questioning, giving me every opportunity to pull away. But I don't. I lean into it, my hands finding his shoulders, his arms wrapping around my waist. It's nothing like Tyler's aggressive, demanding kisses. This is patient, reverent, like Dante is savoring every moment. When we pull apart, we're both breathing heavier. Good night, Emma, he whispers against my lips. Sleep well. Good night, Dante, I manage, my heart racing. He waits until I'm inside with the door locked before walking away. I lean against the door, my fingers touching my lips where his mouth was moments ago, and smile. For the first time since Tyler, I feel hope. Real, terrifying, exhilarating hope that maybe I deserve the kind of love that doesn't hurt. Maybe I found someone who sees my worth and wants to protect it instead of exploit it. Maybe Dante Moretti, with his dangerous past and his careful present, is exactly what I need to heal and move forward. The thought should scare me. Instead, it feels like coming home. The weeks that follow feel like living in a dream I'm afraid to wake from. Dante and I fall into an easy rhythm of dinners, late-night phone calls, stolen moments between his business meetings and my shifts at the diner. He never pushes for more than I'm ready to give, content to let our relationship develop at a pace that feels safe. He sends flowers to the diner with notes that make me smile. He shows up on my breaks with coffee exactly how I like it. He introduces me to his world slowly, carefully, always making sure I'm comfortable. I meet some of his business associates, people who clearly respect and fear him in equal measure. But with me, he's never anything but gentle. Tyler completes his payment plan 2 months after that night when Dante's men showed up at our old apartment. The final deposit hits my account, and with it comes a long text from Tyler. An apology, a real one this time, not motivated by fear, but by genuine remorse. He thanks me for posting about what he did, says it forced him to confront behaviors he'd been excusing for years. He's in therapy now, working on being better. He hopes I found happiness. I show the text to Dante over dinner at a Thai place in Queens. He reads it carefully, then looks at me. How do you feel? He asks. About Tyler actually changing? I think about it. I feel glad for him. Glad he's growing, but it doesn't change what he did. Doesn't erase the years I wasted or the hurt he caused. I forgive him for me, not for him. But I'm also grateful. Grateful? Dante's eyebrow raises slightly. For what? For the pain, I admit. Because it led me to post that night, which led me to you, and you've shown me what it actually feels like to be valued. So yeah, I'm grateful Tyler hurt me because it brought me here. Dante reaches across the table, taking my hand. I'm grateful too, he says quietly, for that post, for that moment of anger that made you reach out into the void, because it let me find you. It let me be part of something good for once instead of just fixing problems or managing crises. You make me want to be better, Emma. You make me remember why I walked away from my father's world in the first place. 6 months after that first dinner, Dante takes me to the rooftop of one of his buildings in Manhattan. The city spreads out below us, millions of lights like fallen stars. He's nervous. I can tell by the way he keeps adjusting his jacket. Emma, he starts, turning to face me fully. These past months with you have been the best of my life. You've made me believe in things I thought were just fairy tales. Honest love, uncomplicated connection, the possibility that someone could know who I am, where I come from, what I'm capable of, and choose me anyway. His hands find mine, warm and steady. I know it's fast. I know we're still learning each other, but I also know that I want to keep learning you for the rest of my life. I want to build something real with you. I want to be the man who makes you smile every day instead of the one who makes you cry. Tears blur my vision, but they're good tears this time. Happy tears. I want that too, I whisper. I want all of that with you. Dante pulls me into his arms and I bury my face in his chest, breathing in his familiar scent. I love you, Emma Rodriguez, he says into my hair. I love your strength and your kindness and your capacity to forgive even when you have every right to stay angry. I love that you see the good in people even after being hurt. I love that you let me into your life when you had every reason to shut everyone out. I love you too, I say, the words feeling natural and right. I love that you protected me when I needed it. I love that you showed me what real respect looks like. I love that you're gentle with me but fierce with everyone else. I love that you chose to be better than the world you came from. We stand on that rooftop, holding each other as the city lives and breathes around us, two broken people who found each other in the most unlikely way and built something beautiful from the wreckage of pain. Tyler's betrayal led me here. Dante's intervention saved me, but our choice to trust, to risk, to believe in the possibility of something better, that's what made this real. Joe was right to warn me about men who can make problems disappear, because they can also make new problems or become problems themselves. But Dante isn't a problem. He's a solution I didn't know I was looking for. He's proof that sometimes the universe provides exactly what you need, exactly when you need it, even if it comes wrapped in expensive suits and dangerous connections. Looking back at that night when I posted about Tyler's betrayal in a moment of anger and pain, I realized I wasn't just calling out his behavior. I was calling out to the universe, asking if anyone out there thought I deserved better. And Dante answered. He showed up in my chaos and brought order. He saw my pain and provided justice. He recognized my worth when I'd forgotten it myself. That's not a fairy tale. That's not a fantasy. That's real love, the kind that sees you at your worst and chooses to lift you up instead of exploit your vulnerability. The kind that protects without suffocating, supports without controlling, loves without demanding you be anything other than exactly who you are. My phone buzzes in my pocket, a text from Sarah. Did he propose yet, or are you just making out on rooftops? I laugh, showing Dante the message. He grins, that rare, full smile that lights up his usually serious face. Should I have proposed? He asks, only half joking. We have time, I assure him, standing on my toes to kiss him. We have all the time in the world to figure this out together. And we do. No more rushing into things to fill voids. No more accepting less than I deserve because I'm afraid of being alone. Just honest love, built slowly and carefully on a foundation of mutual respect and genuine connection. The kind of love I thought only existed in movies, but that turns out to be real when you find the right person. So yes, my boyfriend cheated. Yes, I posted about it online. Yes, a Mafia boss commented that he'd handle it. But the real story isn't about revenge or justice, or even Tyler getting what he deserved. The real story is about a woman who was brave enough to demand better, a man who was strong enough to provide it, and two broken people who found healing in the most unexpected place. The story is about learning that sometimes the worst moments of our lives are actually doorways to the best chapters we haven't written yet. Tyler's betrayal closed a painful chapter. Dante's intervention started a new one. But I'm the one writing my own story now, and for the first time in years, I can't wait to see what comes next.